Someone once asked me, if someone once had done something to someone you love that was so horrific that you would consider torture as revenge, what would that be? In less than a second, I told him what I would do in vivid details. Later, when I reflected on my reply, I realized that I had revealed to my friend the most horrible thing I could imagine ever happening to me. Governors are to our states as the president is to our country. While in no way do I advocate causing any physical or mental distress to anyone, I firmly believe our governors must make sure that no MAGA mole holds a position where he can subvert our voting process. This ban must include any Republican because, as we have seen, so does one, so do them all. We can apologize after we have secured our democracy, if an apology is warranted. The methods of attack on our democracy reveal precisely how we must respond. We must arrest and/or remove any person who is aiding in the takedown of our democracy. I'm certain that a conspiracy against the United States is also a state crime. This is what would be Russell Vought's and Donald Trump's worst nightmare.
Folks, we've been duped. Vought has this master plan, his strategy that he always talks about. And I must say it's quite clever. Please watch the upcoming video.
Is it unreasonable then to expect that some man possessed of the loftiest genius, coupled with ambition sufficient to push it to its utmost stretch, will, at some time, spring up among us? And when such a one does, it will require the people to be united with each other, attached to the government and laws, and generally intelligent to successfully frustrate his designs.
And in our time in the administration, we lived in this place most of the time in the Oval Office. We would put forward some policy solution, and then we'd have the lawyers come in and say it's not legal, you can't do that, that would overturn this precedent, there's a state law against that. This how is where so much of things break down in our country, and that's really what we specialize the most in, and we are trying to build at the Center for Renewing America almost a shadow Office of Management and Budget. We're trying to build a shadow Office of Legal Counsel so that when a future president says, what legal authorities do I need to shut down the riots, we want to be able to shut down the riots and not have the legal community or the defense community to come in and say that's an inappropriate use of what you're trying to do.
Formerly a cabinet member and chief lieutenant in the first Trump admin,
I want to thank Russ for doing an incredible job.
he now runs a group called Center for Renewing America.
An organization that I helped turn into the Death Star that is accomplishing all the debates that you are reading about. I think you have to rehabilitate Christian nationalism. You have the largest deportation in history, block funding for Planned Parenthood. I want to be the person that crushes the deep state.
Vogt is one of the key authors of the blueprint for a second Trump administration.
Project 2025.
In recent weeks, the plans have become so controversial that Trump has been forced to distance himself.
They're sort of the opposite of the radical left, okay? You have the radical left and you have the radical right. And they come up with this, I don't know what the hell it is, it's Project 25.
Are you ready? I know nothing about Project 25. I haven't seen the document. I don't intend to really see the document.
But behind closed doors, Vogt tells us not to take Trump's disavowal seriously.
I expect you to hear 10 more times from the rally, the president, distancing himself from the left's boogeyman of Project 2025.
Yeah. And you're not worried about that?
I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
He's running against a brand. He is not running against any people.
Okay.
He is not running against any institutions. It's interesting, he's in fact not even opposing himself to a particular policy. Yeah. He's been at our organization, he's raised money for our organization, he's blessed it from the, I remember walking into our last day in office and told him what I was going to do. So he's very supportive of what
we make the acquaintance of Mika Meadowcroft, an author on Project 2025 and a close aide to Vogt. He tells us that Vogt is running the secretive second phase of Project 2025.
And the second phase, after the book came out, was to break down like actual sort of policy packets and like executive orders and agenda items and things like that. That's been supervised largely by us.
The first phase of Project 2025 was a 922-page policy book published openly. The second phase is a comprehensive, concrete transition plan for each federal agency. These much more detailed plans are confidential.
Yeah. Because obviously you want as little of it to be FOIA-able, if you're familiar with the FOIA process, as possible. Freedom of Information Act, yeah.
The Freedom of Information Act allows the public to request government communications, but Meadowcroft reveals they plan to avoid these rules.
Yeah, the goal is, familiarize all the transition team people with these plans, but you don't actually send them to their work emails, because then, you could just give the handbooks to everyone, be like, this is the game plan for the admin. If the press knows that that's what you're doing, that they're going to immediately just say, I request all of your emails from Heritage. Okay. You worker.
I see.
So we'll see.
Interesting.
Meadowcroft offers to set up a meeting with his boss, Russ Vogt.
You could put me in touch with somebody who looks after his diary or whatever.
Yes, I can put you in touch with his schedule. Yeah.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Great.
So just tell me when to do that.
We want to meet the man writing the game plan for Trump's second administration. Vogt believes that in his first term, Trump's agenda was frustrated by what he calls the deep state. So Vogt is planning a radical centralization of government power under the president, firing civil servants and ending the independence of agencies like the FBI and DOJ.
80% of my time is working on the plans of what's necessary to take control of these bureaucracies. And we are working doggedly on that, whether it's destroying their agency's notion of independence. They're independent from the president.
Vogt has also been preparing documents based on fringe legal theories, arguing the president has the power to use the military against protesters.
George Floyd obviously was not about race. It was about destabilizing the Trump administration. Right. We put out, for instance, a 50-page paper designed for lawyers to know that the president has the ability both along the border and elsewhere to maintain law and order with the military, and that's something that it's going to be important for him to remember and his lawyers to affirm. But we've given them the case for that.
With loyalists installed in key government agencies and armed with his playbook, Vogt believes a radical Christian nationalist agenda can be realized under a second Trump presidency. For example, on abortion.
So I think the president's actually come up with a strategy that works, so long as you are giving people like me in the government the ability to block funding for Planned Parenthood, block funding for fetal tissue research. But what I've told people is he had the most pro-life record ever. I've never seen him to stand in the way of a pro-life initiative that actually was real, politically and with momentum.
And for Vogt, Trump's pick for vice president shows he's serious about pushing this ideological agenda when in power.
So I am very happy with the JD pick. I think it's transformative for sure. And he's think of him as a member version of what we do. So there's no think tank, no policy organization, no battle plan creator other than us for the worldview that I think Donald Trump has and that JD has.
But as public backlash against these plans builds, the Trump campaign has been scrambling to distance themselves from Project 2025's authors.
It's complete and utter bullshit for any reporter to write that this is the way it is. The president's made it clear these people do not speak for him. They do not speak for the campaign.
But Vogt tells us that behind the scenes, things are much friendlier. The Trump campaign recently picked him to write the Republicans' policy platform, making him essentially Project 2025's man on the inside.
I think the best example is the campaign selected me to be the platform because of their views on my policy ideas, and they're not running from all of the negativity that I get from the press.
I see. So they haven't been spooked on you as a person, you don't think?
No, I mean, I don't think I'm going to be their transition pick, because then they have all these kinds of stories.
Yeah.
But no, the relationship is great.
The head of the Trump transition team has not yet been appointed, but Vogt says that no matter who is named, he'll be able to hand over his Project 2025 battle plans directly.
If it's someone like a Stephen Miller or Bob Lighthizer, then all this stuff gets plugged right in. If it's not, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
But all of it will be designed for a theory of the case that if a battle plan is out there that will do what he wants, there are the people like me that have his trust that will be able to get it to him in whatever position we're at, or I could be at Center for New America, but the relationships will be there, the trust level will be there.
Project 2025's Radical Phase 1 policy book turned into a PR disaster.
The director of Project 2025 has stepped down after facing criticism from both Democrats and the Trump campaign.
But Vogt's Phase 2 battle plans, top secret and handed directly to the transition team, remain unburdened by the brand.
And are you going to rebrand that second phase at all?
For what I do,
yeah.
The brand's not important.
And you're not worried that if it has Project 2025 on, he's going to go
no.
And you're not going to publish those?
No.
They go straight to?
Yeah, they're very, very close hold. Yeah.
Okay.
Brilliant. It's been an education.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Anytime.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
You can show us that out.
Okay.
New Trump administration must move quickly and decisively to turn the tables on the left by using the powers that have been delegated to the American state, the American government. This is the dragon smog's underbelly that lacks the scales that protect the belly. It is their Achilles heel. Because they never passed a constitutional amendment, they have to rely on the precedents and the paradigms. Their entire apparatus is exposed to our strategy. They are exposed to a president who, if he's a radical constitutionalist, who chooses to think and act like Thomas Jefferson or James Madison. And guess what? We have in Donald Trump a man who is so uniquely positioned to serve this role, a man whose own interests perfectly align with the interests of the country. He has seen what it has done to him, and he has seen what they are trying to do to the country. That is nothing more than a gift of God. Of course, this is why they fear him so much.
Who is driving our constitutional crisis, folks? I am here to give my assessment of 4 of most agonizing questions that have plagued us over the last 10 months. However, to begin to see through the fog, we must first understand that MAGA is a term that we use to categorize everyone who seemingly support Trump. But to understand the madness we are witnessing, we must stop attributing everything to MAGA. There are at least 4 groups involved. MAGA. These are the true Trumpian base. They are the massive political nucleus that the following groups seek to use to advance their priorities. They staunchly trust Trump, and therefore they trust anyone he appears to support. They are, for the most part, totally ambiguous of how and for what purpose their power is being used, hence the apparent betrayal from time to time. Even MAGA is not homogeneous. It is composed of several factions: Christians, white supremacists, disenchanted voters, etc. Congressional Republicans. This now disgraced group sought to use MAGA to establish it as the dominant American political party. They believed that they could harness the power of MAGA and its leader, Donald J. Trump. That endeavor failed miserably. They are now relegated to being his bootlickers. Christian nationalists. This group is the clear winner of the competition for the power of MAGA. The majority of its members are not, and will likely ever be, MAGA. Its members are people like Marguerite Taylor Greene, Mike Johnson and Russell Vought, who view the president as a means to an end. Ultra-capitalist. This group mainly stands in the shadows. They seek to own government, It doesn't matter where it lies on a scale from extreme left to extreme right. They are insulated by their wealth and use it to interact with government, which type to them is inconsequential. Their goal is simple: to preserve their wealth and increase it at every opportunity. They unapologetically lever their economic power to direct the course of events in our country. So what role does the president play in all this? Donald Trump is a power broker, pure and simple. He wields the power of his base in support of any of the aforementioned groups, with an excruciating exemplification of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Simply put, Trump would sell his soul to the highest bidder. Now let's take a look at 3 of our most challenging questions. I'll ask the first 2 at the same time because each have the same answer. Why is everyone so intent on concealing the Epstein files? Why does Trump's cabinet not invoke the 25th Amendment? The answer times 2 is, so goes Trump, so goes that massive nucleus of power. MAGA. Next question. Why is the Trump administration moving so fast to make drastic changes to our government's administrative infrastructure? Why are his lieutenants so aggressive and brash? Here again, 2 questions, 1 answer, however. Let me, first, clue you in on what's happening behind the scenes. Russell Vought and his cohorts are, as we speak, conducting a plot to steal our republic. To provide legality to this scheme, they plan to use the Constitution to destroy itself. Article 5 of the Constitution provides a means of keeping it current and relevant. The way of achieving this is through amending it. This article provides 2 formulas for meeting such a goal. Each formula presents a high bar for accomplishment, but the second method can easily be unscrupulously circumvented. This method requires at 2/3 vote of each state legislature to participate in an amendment proposal. It then requires that 2/3 of all 50 states obtain permission from Congress to call a constitutional convention. The final hurdle requires 3/4 of the 50 states to ratify the proposed amendment. Once a constitutional convention is convened, there are no restrictions on what the conventioneers can change. So, as promised, here's the answer to the second pair of questions. Speed and cruelty are necessary to totally overwhelm the American people so that everyone is so busy engaged in the scorched earth takedown Trump they can't see Vought on their flanks. The irony is, it's Trump's job in the whole Vought scheme. In the meantime, the destruction of our democracy is going to plan. Friends, there is no shaming people who have no shame. As an FYI, there are currently 31 red states. The 2/3 and 3/4 majorities required to propose and ratify a constitutional amendment translates into 36 and 38 states, respectively. The sudden mid-census redistricting efforts is a crucial part of the Vought strategy of ensuring the required votes are secured.
Vote early, vote absentee, vote on election day. I don't care how, but you have to get out and vote. And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed, it'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Folks, I hope I've put together a compelling argument on the dire necessity to secure our voting infrastructure. Because in the end, that's what it's all coming down to. Only 7 more states, and Vought and his cohorts can move to amend the Constitution.